Welcome to the Access Behavioral Change Podcast.
Today, we've compiled a whole stack of research. We're talking studies, epidemiological data, controlled driving tests, all focused on one really crucial question for public safety.
And that is our mission for this deep dive.
Mm.
We're trying to get to the bottom of what happens when alcohol and cannabis mix, specifically, when it comes to driving impairment and crash risk.
Right.
Because there's this assumption out there, you hear it all the time, that mixing just a little of both is maybe like having one slightly stronger drink or something.
People try to balance it. They figure, a small dose here, a small dose there. The impact will be low.
Exactly.
And that assumption isn't just a little bit wrong. It's profoundly dangerous. We really want to establish our core insight right from the top.
Let's do it.
The impairment from mixing alcohol and cannabis is not simply additive. It's synergistic.
Okay, so not like mixing two colors.
No, think of it more like combining two chemicals that create a volatile reaction. Something far hotter, far faster than either one alone. The combination creates a level of impairment that just skyrockets, multiplying the safety risks.
Okay, let's unpack that word, synergistic, because I think that's where the math really, really turns against you. This is the exponential danger of combined use.
It is. When we say synergistic, we mean the effect of the whole is dramatically greater than just adding up the parts. It's not a straight line.
So 1 + 1 does not equal 2 here.
Not at all. If, say, alcohol causes 20% impairment and marijuana causes 20%, an additive effect would be 40. Simple. But the research shows with this combo, the impairment can jump to 50, 60%, or even higher.
And that right there, that's the key aha moment for you, the listener. That little calculation you might do in your head, oh, I only had a small amount of each, so I'm fine, is totally flawed.
It's a trap, a biological trap. The research confirms you get severe functional impairment even when the doses of both substances are what you might consider quite low.
And it attacks everything at once.
Everything. Reaction time, your ability to stay in your lane, and maybe most critically, the judgment you need to even realize you're in danger.
You can't really argue with that core concept. So let's move from the idea of it to the cold, hard numbers, because this is where we can actually quantify the destruction of driving ability. When I was looking at the controlled driving studies, the most alarming data point for me was about the single most important metric for avoiding a crash.
Reaction time.
Reaction time.
It's everything. It's that split second between your brain seeing a threat, a brake light, a kid running into the street, and your foot actually moving to the brake.
It's pure processing speed.
Yeah.
And together, these two substances just wreck it.
I do. Get ready for this number because it's a big one.
Lay it on us.
In those controlled on-road tests, the combined use of alcohol and marijuana slows reaction time by a staggering 30 to 40%.
30 to 40. That's a massive, massive deficit right when you need to be sharpest.
And let's put that in context. A 30 to 40% drop isn't just a number, it's real, tangible time you're losing. If you're on the highway, say, going 60 miles an hour,
You're covering a lot of ground per second.
about 88 feet per second, so if you lose almost half a second of reaction time,
What does that mean in distance?
it means before your brain even fully registers, I need to brake, you've already traveled an extra 25, maybe 35 feet. That's nearly the length of a semi-trailer.
Wow.
That extra distance is the entire ballgame. It's the difference between stopping safely and causing a terrible crash. Your margin for error is just gone.
And it's not just about hitting the brakes late, is it? The simulator studies, the lab stuff,
Mm-hmm.
they show that basic control of the vehicle just completely falls apart.
Oh, absolutely. The researchers documented a whole spectrum of steering errors and just visual control issues.
Like what?
Drivers mixing the two show a huge increase in lane deviation. They're weaving. They just can't hold a stable line. Their speed control's all over the place.
Yeah.
And when they were put in scenarios where they had to avoid something,
Collisions went up.
collisions and just general driving errors went way, way up.
What's so fascinating to me is that the studies pointed out this obvious measurable failure in driving skill. Even when the doses were so low, the person would say they felt barely noticeable effects.
Right. The driver thinks they're handling it, but the objective data, the tracking of their steering and braking, it shows a clear and dangerous breakdown.
So why is that? Why is it so much worse than the sum of its parts?
Because they aren't just doing the same thing twice. They're attacking two different but equally essential systems you need to drive safely. It's like having two saboteurs working on different parts of an engine at the same time.
Okay, that brings us to the science behind the synergy. Let's break down what alcohol, saboteur number 1, is doing by itself.
Alcohol is, first and foremost, a central nervous system depressant. It slows the whole network down. That means worse attention, worse coordination. But its most dangerous effect is psychological.
It impairs your judgment.
It impairs judgment, and it actually increases risk-taking behavior. It makes you willing to do something dangerous, like get behind the wheel when you shouldn't.
So alcohol handles the bad decision-making. Now, what specific function does marijuana target to make this such a disaster?
THC primarily attacks your psychomotor skills. For you listening, we're talking about that complex coordination you need to just keep the car going straight and handle the controls.
Steering, gas, brakes.
All of it. THC specifically reduces your tracking ability. Just keeping the car in the lane becomes this really mentally taxing and physically difficult thing to do.
And it's compounded by how THC affects the brain's ability to multitask, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Marijuana seriously impairs what we call divided attention. Safe driving means you're constantly checking mirrors, watching your speed, looking at traffic lights, listening for sirens, all at once.
Juggling.
And that ability to juggle is severely degraded by cannabis. So you layer alcohol's slowness and risk-taking on top of THC's poor tracking and lack of focus, and you get a driver who is slow, weaving, reckless, and worst of all, totally convinced they're fine.
And this is where it gets really scary. There's a hidden physiological danger here from the research that I'm pretty sure most people are completely unaware of. Alcohol actually increases the amount of THC in your system.
This is such a critical point. It's a physiological interaction that's been documented again and again. When you drink alcohol, especially if you drink it before or during cannabis use, the ethanol seems to boost the absorption of THC.
It's like turning the volume dial way up.
Exactly, without you even changing the dose you took.
So even if you use a familiar, controlled amount of cannabis, if there's alcohol in your system, you are going to be significantly more intoxicated from that THC than you ever expected to be.
And this connects directly to the terrifying part about self-judgment. Not only are you objectively more impaired than you realize,
but the alcohol is making you less able to recognize it.
Precisely. You are less able to recognize just how impaired you are. The drugs are literally collaborating to create this biological trap. Your impairment goes up, but your awareness of it goes down.
That is the very definition of a dangerous feedback loop. Let's connect that failure to what happens in the real world. What does the epidemiological evidence, the crash data, tell us?
The crash data is very, very clear. When you look at studies of actual crashes of ER records, the picture is consistent. Cannabis-related crash risk jumps significantly, dramatically, when alcohol is also in the picture.
So it's the combination that really turns marijuana use into a high-risk driving behavior, on par with serious alcohol impairment.
It is. The combination produces crash rates that are far higher than you'd get by just adding the individual risks together. It's a synergy resulting in actual destruction.
So if the science is so clear, are people actually getting the message?
Well, this leads us to the survey data shocker, and it really highlights the public safety challenge we're facing.
Let's hear it.
When researchers surveyed people in several U.S. states, they found that about 1/3 of people who use both alcohol and marijuana together report driving within 2 hours of using both.
1/3, 1 in 3.
1 in 3. That is a massive number of people knowingly engaging in this incredibly high-risk behavior, probably relying on that same compromised self-judgment we just talked about.
And this brings us right to the under-the-limit myth. This is the big rationalization, right?
It is. It's the person who says, look, what if I only have one drink and a really small amount of marijuana? I'm under the legal BAC limit, so I have to be safe to drive.
And the short answer from all of this research is an unequivocal no.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
The critical problem is that our legal limits for alcohol were never designed to account for this combined synergistic effect.
They're two separate equations.
They are. So you can be legally compliant on paper under the alcohol limit, small amount of cannabis, and still be dangerously, functionally impaired behind the wheel because of that multiplication of risks. Legal status does not equal safety.
So after all this, what does it mean for you, the listener? We need to distill this down to the simplest, safest, most actionable rule possible.
The evidence really only points to one conclusion. There's one simple rule based on physiological reality.
And that is?
If you've used both alcohol and marijuana, do not drive. Period.
No ifs, ands, or buts. And we should probably just hammer home why the common excuses for feeling safe just don't hold up.
Right. First, it was only a little bit. It doesn't matter. We know the synergy kicks in even at low doses.
Okay, what's excuse number 2?
But I feel fine. And as we've discussed, that is the most dangerous feeling you can possibly have in this situation because your ability to judge your own impairment is one of the first things to go.
And this isn't something that just wears off in an hour?
No, the impairment persists for several hours after you've used both. Waiting, a very long time, preferably overnight, is the only truly safe recommendation.
This all comes down to making safer choices proactively. The research points to clear, actionable steps. If you plan to use either, but especially if you think you might mix them, arrange for a ride before you even start.
Yes. Don't wait until your judgment is already compromised to try and figure it out.
And just as important is that responsibility we have for the people around us.
If you see a friend considering driving after mixing, you have to speak up. Offer alternatives, call rideshare for them, take their keys. The sources are so clear on this that one decision can literally save lives.
The crash risk is real. Even those low doses of both drugs together can exponentially increase your chance of causing a severe collision. The mathematical risk is just so much higher.
For a final thought, when you look at all the science, you see that the impairment is exponential and that the combination actively destroys your ability to recognize that impairment. It really only leads to one logical, evidence-based conclusion.
What's that?
That a zero driving tolerance policy for the combination is the only safe path forward. You simply cannot trust your own judgment under those conditions. The only time to make the right choice is when you're sober, by making it a fixed rule for yourself.
This has been the Access Behavioral Change Podcast. Thank you for listening.